Hey metalheads, you like tattoos? Of course you do. If you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, come on over the bridge to Clarksville, Indiana, and get you some ink done at Ageless Art. If ink isn't your thing, they have a piercing studio as well. Visit agelessartclarksville.com to see some frequently asked questions, meet the staff. The shop is open Monday through Thursday, 12 to 8 p.m., Saturdays, 12 to 10 p.m., and Sundays, 12 to 6 p.m., all appointment-only spots. You can set up your appointments by phone at 812-283-1793 or email agelessarttatoosandpiercing@gmail.com and someone will get you set up for your first or your next tattoo or piercing.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
In 2017, one man's vision and passion for all things metal started out as a record store in his house. Years later, the fight against a mainstream empire continues as Shade Beast. An independent metal collective and online store based in Athens, Georgia, is the world's premier heavy metal brand for music heads that value authenticity over the mainstream acceptance. Featuring original t-shirts from some of the best underground artists, as well as stickers, posters from the Shade Beast Presents concert series. Unique, one-of-a-kind collectibles and small curated selection of vinyl and cassettes from the masters old and new. Visit shadebeast.com and enter promo code SithLord for free domestic shipping on your first order, whether you're a new customer or returning. And be sure to join the Shade Beast social groups on Facebook and the interwebs to keep up with the new release announcements and talk all things metal and Star Wars. You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and filth. Thank you for tuning into the Metal Forge. I am Mark Jackson and I'm your host. The premise of the show is pretty simple. Awesome interviews and awesome music. If you want to contact me, hit me up at metalforgeradio@gmail.com or visit the website metalforgeradio.com. And now let's get this show on the road. What is going on, metalheads? Thank you all for tuning into this week's episode of the Metal Forge. How the heck are you guys doing this week? Heck, there you go, Bobby Nailitz from Maxwell's House of Music. I said heck and not the other one. Ha ha. Seriously though, how is everybody doing this week? Wow. Oh my God. What a crazy week it has been. So, Midnight always rips. They played the Mag Bar on Tuesday. Holy shit. Yes. More to come on that later, maybe in a exclusive, I don't know. But yeah, Last weekend, the birthday weekend celebration, Magbar on Friday with Halfcaster, Temptations, Wings, and Rifle. Wow, what a great night it was. I mean, obviously it's always fun, and, getting to meet Jason and the guys in Temptations, Wings, and, Jason from the Heavy Metal Wasteland in person, finally, and it's so fucking cool, man. Like, I felt the exact same way when I met the dudes in Haunt and Seven Sisters and Entranced, last year. And then getting to see 2 shows of theirs, back-to-back days. And it was totally rad to meet people that you've talked to for, couples of years through like the pandemic and all of that stuff, It's just a very interesting thing. I'm sure like meeting somebody like Maxwell Jeffries from Underking one day would be the same thing, or, just whoever else, Cam and the guys in Spell would be fucking rad as shit, and, Time Rift, and, fucking, yeah, just super cool stuff, man. Like, holy shit, yeah. So anyways, yeah. That was all some crazy weekend stuff. So Friday at Magbar was a blast. Got to hear some awesome stuff from all 3 bands, and I actually recorded like on my digital recorder. I bootlegged the show, so we might hear some stuff from that in the future. We might get a Metal Forge live bootleg. That might be kind of cool, actually. Hey, I think I just stumbled on an idea here. Anyway, yeah, so that, and then the second night of the 40th birthday weekend celebration au festival was at Losers 812 in Jeffersonville, Indiana, featuring Temptations, Wings, American Bombshell, Overload, and Wild Ride. And what a crazy wild ride it was, the entire day and night. So I had taken Jason and the guys in Temptations, Wings, Chad, Micah, and Ryan to White Castle, because if you're in the South, you don't have White Castle down there. You've got Crystal. It's similar, but it's not the same. And out west, you guys don't have White Castle at all. So I implore you, if you ever come east, try it. You will like it. Hopefully. But I know people who don't, actually. The Englishmen that I know that don't like it, they're funny about it. They hate the White Castle. It's funny. And look for a Mudhorn episode on that soon. But anyway, yeah, so we had a blast that night too, and it was just all good party time. It was kind of cool out, which was nice. There was a chance of rain, but everybody was spot the fuck on, and everybody had a great crowd and great reaction. So that shit's so fucking awesome to me. So onward and upward to a great blowout this year. Let's fucking look forward to the years to come on that shit. Hell fucking yeah, man. Fucking right. Anyway, today's episode is about Vaultwraith. And if you do not know, Vaultwraith, yeah, fucking awesome people. They're split their time in like at certain points, in the Missouri area, Midwest madness here, occult horror, heavy black metal type stuff. They've been around since 2012. They've been primarily a recording project. So, yeah, I think you're really going to dig the band because, dude, I think it's great. They've got great artwork. They've got great music. It's just the concept of everything is just totally fucking rad and awesome. Fuck yeah. So let's go ahead and get into some Vaultwraith here. This is from the album Decomposing Spells. This is The Mortuary Succubus. right, maniacs, what the fuck is going on this week? Because holy shit, what is today? It's Revenge of the 5th. That's right, fucking Cinco de Mayo today. And this week, we have the Warlock from the band Vaultwraith. Dude, what's up?
This is pretty much it. I'm chilling out with my cat.
Yes. Yes. So, you know, are you a May the 4th celebrator? Are you a Star Wars fan?
You know, I mean, I grew up, I was born in 1980, so my memories of Star Wars are really roughly around when Return of the Jedi came out, and it's not for any reason. I never have went back and watched the movies, but I've been told multiple times I need to watch the original trilogy, so I'll have to get on that.
Interesting. You know, I know a lot of people who are that way, who don't really watch anything like before they were born kind of stuff. And it's like, how? There's so much good cinema that's not like fucking Fast and the Furious 15.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, I've watched a lot of old movies. I just never have got around to the Star Wars ones. I think a lot of it's just, you know, I mean, obviously it's a cultural phenomenon. So I've heard so much about them. And, you know, for me, I don't know, I'm one of those people, if it like gets overhyped to me, I like tend to, you know, avoid it. But most of the time I'm really, you know, pleasantly surprised when I do finally cave and watch it. So I'm pretty sure I would enjoy them, because I do like a lot of movies from that era, you know, Jaws and all that stuff.
Hell yeah. See, I totally relate with that about the not jumping on the hype train, because I did that recently with Breaking Bad. I never watched it when it was on. Same thing with Better Call Saul. I love the name of the show, but like I never watched them until this past December. I watched Breaking Bad for the first time, and I was just blown the fuck away. And I was like, whoa, this is really fucking good. But it's like, it's almost like The Wall to me. Like when you watch the Wall movie from Pink Floyd, it like, for me, it sends me in like a fucking weird depression. I'm like, oh man, this, you know, life really fucking sucks. And like, I start questioning everything. But like, this was just like, oh shit. And now like watching Better Call Saul and finishing it up, because they just put the most recent season on Netflix. I've just been like binging the fuck out of it. And obviously there's so much content out there these days.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to take it all in. But I did the same thing with Breaking Bad. My wife and I just watched it for the first time this last year. Same, you know, just never like caught on whenever it was popular, but, you know, finally sat down and watched a couple episodes and got hooked in and just binged the whole series. But, yeah, we really liked it a lot too.
Dude, have you seen the alternate ending to Breaking Bad?
I have not.
It's hilarious. Bryan Cranston wakes up and he's in the bed in Malcolm in the Middle, and he's like crying. And I never watched Malcolm in the Middle really either, but he's like crying. He's like, I had a dream that I was a meth dealer and I was really good. I killed people. And she's like, yeah, well, who are you married to? He's like, this big, tall, blonde, statuesque woman. He's like, yep, it was a dream. And they pan over and he's like, I wore a black hat, and they pan over and Heisenberg's hat's in the chair.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, I actually did watch some Malcolm in the Middle back when it was on TV, and the show's a lot of fun. It's really quirky and funny.
Right.
One of my favorite moment from Malcolm in the Middle comes down to where two of the kids are just hanging out in the house, and one's reading comics and he's laughing, and his brother says, what's so funny? He says, oh, it's this Peanuts comic. And he goes, what's Peanuts? He's like, oh, you never read Peanuts? Says, no. And the next scene, they show him they're out in the yard and he's holding the football for him to come kick it. So,
yes.
It was perfect. Yeah.
Oh, fucking Lucy and the football, yes.
Yeah.
That's funny. He's like, you've never read Peanuts comics.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, that was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's funny. Like, I've watched episodes here and there of Malcolm in the Middle, but like, no, it was kind of like, you know, because I was born in '83, so last week I just turned 40, and like, so I still look at it to be a little bit after my time, I guess. Because I was already in like high school and stuff when that, or almost out of school when that show started. So it was kind of like, meh. I was already into other things like playing in bars and fucking, you know, doing that shit.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some of your fandoms that you dig?
I mean, obviously, I'm a huge Friday the 13th fan, the whole franchise. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like some of the entries better than others. I won't really go into Jason Goes to Hell. Don't really like that movie much at all. But, you know, it's if anybody wears a hockey mask and they film it, I'm going to watch it at least once or twice. So, huge fan of that franchise. I don't know. That's like one I really get into as far as the fandom goes, you know, and kind of collecting, you know, little things here and there, stuff like that. And a lot of it's, you know, just my own interest and then just stuff that people have gotten me. My wife actually got me a hockey mask that's signed by C.J. Graham and Alice Cooper. So I'm a pretty big fan of that.
Hell yeah. That's totally fucking rad. I actually have an Alice Cooper eye tattoo on my forearm, so...
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And it's the like the real thin eyes, not the thick ones that he did for the longest time.
Yeah, the thin ones. That's really cool. I've actually got to see him 5 times now.
Wow.
I actually saw him twice on this last tour, and that's because about like towards the end of the tour, Nita Strauss, the guitar player that's been with him forever, she kind of took off for a minute, and they actually brought Kane Roberts back, who was the guy that played on Constrictor and Raise Your Fist and Yells. I'm like, I've got to see him with Kane. So we went and saw basically the exact same set, but with Kane playing lead guitar with him again. So it was pretty cool.
Right. You know, that's always a cool thing to see people that you're into when you get to see them live. Like, you know, I thought it was super fucking cool when I got to see Maiden on the last tour that I saw them on, where they were doing the Legacy of the Beast.
Oh, that's rad.
And they were doing Blaze Bayley songs in the set.
Oh, that's really cool.
And, you know, I think just like Ripper and Judas Priest, I think Blaze Bayley gets a bad rap because, you know, they both had to follow fucking crazy, insane fucking people like Bruce Dickinson and Rob Halford.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it was just kind of a, you know, during that time period, both of those bands, I'd say it was kind of a lull in their career. You know, it's coming off of all these classic albums. It's, I mean, how do you follow that up? I wouldn't know how the hell to follow up Seventh Son of a Seventh Son.
Oh my God,
I think I'd just hang it up and call it a day.
Yeah, right.
Know, it's just like, I don't know, man. That's it's quite a feat to get to that level, and then where do you go from there? You know, so
you know, and that's like the I think a lot of bands that are in that position get a lot of bad rap. Also, you know, because they've reached such a stratospheric high that like it's almost like you can't please all of the people all of the time, kind of thing.
Right.
Which sucks, don't get me wrong, but like, you know, I think it's a humbling experience, and I think it adds to different facets of people's careers. You know, you've seen the people like the Beatles do it. You've seen bands like Black Sabbath and Aerosmith and Kiss and Metallica and all of these bands do it. Pretty much, I mean, even sometimes like Led Zeppelin kind of has done that in days gone past too, you know. But it's just a big thing. But you know, I dig the Friday the 13th stuff, you know, and I might be like, I love a lot of horror stuff. But like, I don't like, unless I'm like really into it, like the Phantasm series, I just don't rewatch a lot of horror.
Yeah. I mean, it just, for me, I go back and, you know, I watched the ones that I've loved since I was a kid. You know, I can put them on any day of the week. But yeah, with newer horror films and everything, you know, I don't know, man, I get a little frustrated, you know. The horror snobs are just as bad as the music snobs. but it's just like, I'll see a new movie and it's capable. I totally dig it. I enjoy it the one time around, but I don't necessarily go back and rewatch it. But that's not to say that I think it's a heaping pile of shit or something. It's just, it's not the ones I grew up with. And, those are the ones that they hit me at that impressionable age. So I just keep coming back to them.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. For me, like I said, I love the Phantasm series. And, but my favorite, I don't even know which one it is because I've only seen it like twice. My favorite Friday is the one with Corey Feldman where he like cuts all of his hair off and he's like, "Who am I? Jason, who am I?"
Yeah. It was part 4.
Yeah, that's what I was
final
thinking.
Chapter.
Part 4, the final chapter, yeah. And so that's like the big thing for me. That's my big Friday movie that I like.
Yeah, like I think my favorite Friday movies are probably 2, 4, and 6. And I still love the original, don't get me wrong, but like 2's great because that's where you first get, Jason. But you also had Amy Steele, who I think is the best final girl in just about any slasher series that I've ever seen. She's rad. And that's also got the one where, he's got the altar with his mom's severed head on it. And so there's that whole eerie moment at the end of the movie where she puts on the sweater and starts talking to him as if she were his mother. And he's actually confused about it. And it's just really cool. Kind of an eerie moment in that series.
Oh, for sure. And I love people who love like Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, it's fun stuff too.
Yeah, right. It totally is. But you know what? We've actually this is exactly what I was telling you about pre-interview about the new segment, because we're 12 minutes in and it has already happened.
Yeah.
See, because we're actually here today to talk about fucking Vaultwraith, dude.
Yeah, I do that.
He does that also. He is in the fucking band Vaultwraith. And you
that's one of the things I'm into.
What's that?
That's one of those things I'm into.
Yeah, he's into this music thing too. So fucking, as everybody knows, I check the Metal Archives. It's kind of like Wikipedia because they do get a lot of stuff incorrect as well. Like for some reason, fucking Rifle, their producer produced one of Black Sabbath albums, and I don't think that's really true. But so they do get a lot of shit right and wrong. So back in 2022, you all released the latest full length back in November, actually, called Decomposing Spells.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, like 10 tracks, and like it starts the fuck out and it just doesn't let go, man. Like, fuck. I listened to it over on the Bandcamp page, and I was like, dude, I've been like, checking in on you guys periodically since doing the podcast, and I've been thought about reaching out, but I finally did, and I was just like, all right, man, we need to fucking do this, and it's like, fuck.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out. But yeah, I'm really happy with the newest album and everything, and I'm like, it's, I'm pretty prolific in that, like, as soon as I wrap up one thing, I'm working on something else. So I've already actually wrote all the music for the 4th album and everything, and Billy's currently working on the lyrics and vocals for it. But I'm really happy with Decomposing Spells, and really happy to see it finally coming out on all the formats. We actually, the CD just came out from Hell's Headbangers, and so people can pick that up on their site. And then, yes, obviously it's still on Bandcamp and everything. You can stream it on Spotify or whatever streaming service you like. And then we actually have 2 labels putting it out on vinyl, and it's out on cassette already. And Vicious Witch has the cassettes if you're looking for those. And they are getting ready to come out on Adirondack Black Mass on vinyl. And we're really excited about it. The vinyl's going to look killer.
Fuck, man. See, like, how does it... So I've only ever released digital and CDs for my band. Okay.
Right.
I've talked about doing a limited run cassette, and I've done one, like a lathe cut vinyl for myself, and one other person bought one. So, like, I've never mass-produced any vinyl with my band or anything like that. How does it feel to be in 2023 putting your music out across digital, CD, cassette, and vinyl?
I mean, it's definitely surreal. I never, you know, I mean, it was whenever I first started playing music when I was about 15 or so, and I was born in 80. So I started playing, you know, my first bands in about the mid 90s. Now, a lot of the bands that I used to, you know, play shows with, they would put out 7 inches, but 7 inches were actually cheaper to put out than a CD at the time because it wasn't the preferred format. And so people would, you know, they get press up about 500. They do a split with some other band. So you split the money 2 ways, and then you usually photocopy the covers and stuff like that and assemble it all at home. So that was more of a thing. But even then, I didn't have anything on 7-inch or anything like that. My bands put out cassettes at the time, but what we would do is record them ourselves and then, you know,
rip them. That's the way I started.
Yeah, everybody would get their blank cassettes and record them, you know, copy them at home with the dual cassette decks and stuff like that. So to, be this far advanced and have it come out on vinyl, cassette, and CD, it's surreal. It's really cool. The best part is I didn't have to, like, you know, doing this stuff at home other than record it. And but it's pretty cool to see it come out on all the formats. It's the resurgence of cassettes I did not see coming because, you know, having grown up with that format, we were really excited to, you know, see the when CD burners became a thing. That was really a game changer for us because there was no loss in quality. And that's something that you absolutely suffer with, you know, with cassettes and everything, because, you know, there's the inevitable hiss, and depending on how good your tape deck is, there's the possibility of actually having one of your favorite albums get destroyed by the cassette player.
For sure. But you also had the thing too, to where, like, you recorded on like a Tascam 4-track or a Fostex 4-track recorder, and just did that and bounced it. You know, we found ways to do that shit back in the day, and that's what I like about the nostalgia from that era. Is like, now it's just as simple as hitting the F5 and the space bar and a Control Z because you didn't get it right or something. You know, it's just a real, you know, it's really easy to create like punch and stuff like that when you do it.
Yeah.
Which back in the day, no, it wasn't. So.
Yeah, there was a lot of mistakes on demos and things like that just came through, and so there's a lot of honesty to it. But yeah, I can't go back. I do not desire to start recording on a 4-track again. I like my digital products for sure.
You know, that was one of the interesting things, an interesting story, that James Hetfield used his same Fostex recorder all the way up through to like Death Magnetic when it finally died.
Wow.
Yeah, that he was, you know, he would record it on tape and shit like that. So like, I love archival shit. That's just one of my nerdisms that I'm into. So like, you know, like I would love to just sit down and go through like, you know, a major band's archive of shit that they've just never released. Like fucking Prince, rings a bell here, because apparently he had so much fucking shit recorded that like it was just insane.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be a multi-instrumentalist like that and be active as long as he was, and how many studio albums did he do in all that time? It's, you know, I guarantee you, he probably had just hours upon hours of stuff that could go shelved, just like Frank Zappa, you know, just very prolific and just, recording all the time.
And I'm sure people like Steve Vai and Joe Satriani are that way too, because they're just players and they don't have to worry about, you know, any like vocalist stuff, and you know what I'm saying there, right? Like,
right, absolutely.
I mean, riffs for days, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of like, even myself, like when I started playing music and everything, I started recording well before I was ever, in a band. And when I've been in between bands and stuff, I've been recording. So I've got just tons and tons of stuff that I just, have kept to myself or just circulated with some friends of mine and stuff over the years. And I imagine anybody else is too, but if you, take having to have a day job out of the equation and that's all you do,
right?
Yeah, the Prince has got a couple of bank vaults full of that stuff.
and think of this too, because I'm sure, like Zappa was the digital era for Zappa wasn't there, so all of his shit's on 2-inch tape.
Yep.
So because I've actually watched an archival video with Dweezil in the Zappa vault.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and they just are going through and everything is meticulously labeled or it's not.
Right.
So it's it has this crazy attention to detail, who played on it. It's all pen and ink, on the tape box type shit. Or it'll just say August 12th, 72. And that's it. See. And they have to go through and retroact okay, well, who was in Frank's band at the time?
Right.
Was there, let's put a call out to everybody there, were there any session players? And it's fuck, man. I remember having to do that myself with tape and shit, trying to remember that this is the drum master tape that got bounced down to the one channel, so having the meticulous attention to detail, I guess.
Yeah, there's a guy I used to play with in town, and back in the day we were recording all our stuff on cassettes, and the worst thing you could label your cassette, and we all did it, was just writing something like new stuff on it, because eventually you're into volume 12 of new stuff and trying to find that one riff idea you have no idea which tape it's on. So,
yeah, and that's where taking notes is, we all had new stuff volume 12 and shit like that.
Exactly.
A friend of mine's band actually named an album Books on Tape Volume 2.
That's great.
Just for that reason of just well, where's Volume 1? I don't know.
Right.
We can't find Volume 1 anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's just great stuff, and it's back from the old scene days, when you're really starting out in your scene and you're earning your stripes type shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, having multiple copies of an album, because it tends to lead to a collector standpoint, because I'm sure you all have fans, as we all do, that collect everything you do, whether it's, you got 4 copies of the same album. And I'm sure most of us all have that fandom too. You probably have a copy of the Friday series on VHS. You probably have one on DVD.
Yeah, my wife got me the Blu-ray set for Christmas, and I've been pretty happy with that now. but yeah, I have owned them on VHS or DVD, you name it. So yeah, I've definitely followed up with the different formats and just trying to stick with the full collection on whatever's current. But yeah, I get that there are a lot of people that have to have. The one I've really seen that a lot of people get into is if they're collecting CDs, they're really about having the long box copies from the early 90s and stuff like that. That's just that's a level of fandom I have not invested in.
And I've got a couple of long boxes still. One of them was a Motorhead long box, and I had to get rid of it, unfortunately. I was at a time in my life where I was pawning shit and living paycheck to paycheck and actually still having about 4 days before the next paycheck. And, just trying to survive type shit. And fucking having a couple of long boxes that, you knew were sought after, that people wanted was a good thing to have. But now I think I only have one in my collection, and it's a Saigon Kick box.
Oh wow!
And it wasn't the first edition long box. So, the first editions were the ones that actually just folded open.
Yeah.
But then like the other editions, there was like the little jewel case in the bottom of the box, and it was just the box was there to fit in with the others.
Yeah. I know for me, I've always been like, as long as, whatever the content on there is like the same as what was on the other edition, then I'm usually satisfied with owning whatever's, the newest. But like, you get into some weird situations too with like remasters where people go back and they like, kind of screw with the original dynamics of the album or something else. Or in the worst case was, around what I guess it was around 2099 whenever Ozzy, yes, whenever they went in there and like freaking re-recorded the drums and the bass.
Yeah,
for those
Daisley and Kerslake, yeah. So they could get away from the royalty dispute.
Yeah, and that was so screwed up. But I think they've since went back and corrected that. But, for me, it's like, man, I'm glad I still have my Jet Records copy of Diary of a Madman.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. For me, that's a big collecting point for me is I want to have first edition prints of almost everything. And especially if it's CD. If I can get a first edition print of a CD, I know what it is that I'm listening to. For example, if you go back and listen to the remasters of, like Rust in Peace and Peace Sells But Who's Buying, and even the first remasters of like Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning when they re-released them in '94 with the fan club info, that, like, you can tell the differences.
Right. Yeah, I noticed like Peace Sells, it's a huge album for me, and I did like hear there's definitely a dynamic shift. I think they took some of the reverb off of it. It was like, I like the reverb, but that's the sound of that era. But at the same time too, a lot of the really cool things that Garth Samuelson did kind of gets lost in the wash if you put too much reverb on there. So there's definitely merits to remastering some stuff, but yeah, don't go back and re-record it with new musicians.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just sacrilege.
And the shit thing about it is like they basically cut out their performance royalty out of it, is what it was, because like Rob went back and played Daisley's bass lines.
Yeah.
Because he was already playing them in the band anyways. And so it's like, Daisley still got the writer credit. They couldn't dispute that, but they disputed the performance credit for the sales.
That's and I mean,
which sucks.
Why?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Was Ozzy and Sharon starving? Just give the guy his damn money.
Right. I mean, you're talking like, okay, Ozzy probably got 20 or $40 million out of it, and Bob Daisley probably got 2.
Yeah.
So fuck, man, come on.
Yeah, that was really screwed up. Yeah, it's just, of all the heinous things I've heard of happening, that takes the cake.
Oh yeah, for sure. So you mentioned something a minute ago, and I want to touch on this really fast, is you said you've already got stuff written for 4.
Yeah.
And so tell me about that. I mean, is this going to be something that is maybe within the next year? Because looking at your release schedule, you've pretty much had full lengths every 2 years or so.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing about it is we're usually done recording a full year or more before the stuff gets released.
Right,
like, I mean, this last album, like we were done recording, Decomposing Spells, I want to say, probably by May of last year. But that's just how long it takes. Like, after you get done, recording, well, then obviously you got to get it out there to the labels and stuff like that. And this time, I know, like, Hell's Headbangers, they pretty much agreed to go ahead and do the CD, but they've got a few bands on their roster, so releases take a while. But then with the cassettes and the records, Billy, I know he emailed a lot of different labels just trying to find ones that were interested in it. and finally got this all lined up. But then, vinyl production takes forever. So, there's, like I said, I've recorded all the music for the 4th album. At this point, it's just a matter of Billy, writing the lyrics and laying down the vocals, and then me going back and mixing it and mastering it all. But so, I mean, yeah, I would say there's probably a good chance we'll be done recording it, within the year. But as far as when it'll be out on a physical format and we'll have the artwork and everything else, that one's up in the air.
Definitely. So, yeah, it feasibly could be the beginning of 2025 at this point.
Yeah, but I would say before that, hopefully.
Right. Hopefully like a November of 24.
Yeah, I think that's feasible.
Because, we all get in the routines too, where, my deal was we always used to take off December and January and would write and record those 2 months, and then by an end of February release date. And then it kind of kept getting pushed back to, and it was an April release date. And then it was an August release date. So we all get in our routines to where we do our thing, and then we try to make it work as we do it. So how does touring work for you guys?
I mean, there is no touring. We never played live yet.
Okay.
So, because I'm, as it is right now, we started out as a 3-piece, but now it's literally just me and Billy. And so I record all the music, play all the instruments, and Billy does all the vocals. So if we were going to play out live or tour or do anything like that, I'd have to get a group of people together to play the music for sure. And then there's the rehearsal and booking shows and everything else. So as of right now, we've only ever recorded.
Okay. Now, is this a thing, because you're in your 40s at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a thing that you would prefer? Would you prefer to have just a studio project, or is the need there to still want to play live, or do you play live with other bands?
I mean, yeah, I still play out with other bands, not as frequently as I used to, or anything like that, but it's I enjoy playing out on occasion, but it's never been the big thing for me. It's for lack of a better term, I'm straight edge. So like the bar scene really wore me out. I got tired of that real quick. And, and so playing out, I really always like playing non-traditional venues because there's more people there that are just there for music. You're not the soundtrack to someone's drunken binge,
Right.
And generally you have clearer conversations with people and things like that. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, it's also really cool to go out and play a cool show, with a lot of people there in attendance, and it's nice to have someone come and say that they thought you did a really cool set. It's as insignificant as it may be in the long run. It's pretty cool at the time.
Well, that's respectable, Like, I totally get what you mean with like the bar scene thing, because I totally had my fill of it as well, because for me it hit that point when I doing the shows around my city type thing and hanging out with the non-musician friends that I had, and that's always an interesting dynamic as well. But hanging out with the non-musical friends, and they're like, hey man, what are you doing this weekend? Are you playing? No. Hey, do you want to come out? Yeah, sure. What do you all want to do? You want to go out to eat or something? No, man, let's go to the bar. And it's like, oh.
Right.
It's like, I play out, a lot. And so I equate bars with work, even to this day. So, yeah, I don't usually go to the bar and drink.
Yeah, well, for me too, I still like to go out and see a show on occasion, but I'm usually more excited about, the people who are doing this in their early 20s and just discovering it for the first time and putting their own scenes together, and just the excitement around that, because it's, it's all new to them, and it's really cool to see that.
Yeah.
I don't know. you lose some of that enthusiasm, I think, after, 20 plus years of playing out and kind of doing the same thing. And it's but I really like to watch a younger scene. They're usually more vibrant, and regardless of the quality of the music, just the fact that they're younger and they're doing it and they have a friend group, those shows are usually really well attended and everyone's having a really good time. And I don't know, there's nothing worse than seeing dudes in their 40s bitch about a low turnout at their show. It's like, dude, you're all in your 40s. You wouldn't be at that bar if you weren't playing the show, because you would rather be home chilling out at your place.
Exactly.
And so whenever I do play out and there's a low turnout, I respect it, man. People got stuff they want to do.
They have kids, man.
Yeah, exactly. They got kids, they got chores, responsibilities, The other thing too, it's, I explained it another time. It's, whenever you're 18 years old or so, it's like, man, I can't wait to go out and do something. But now it's like, whenever you're going out, you're leaving your house where all the stuff you like's at.
Right. It's like, especially if it's like not fucking fulfilling or some shit, and you're just there and you're like fucking arms crossed, and you're like, I could be watching fucking Takes Manhattan right now, or even
exactly.
the worst. I could be watching Goes to Hell right now. It could be the worst fucking one ever. Phantasm 3. He could be the worst fucking one ever, and you'd rather be doing that.
See, it's funny when people talk about like stage fright. For me, if the place was full, that made me less nervous than like a lower attendance show, because when it's lower attendance, man, you can find every person in the audience with their arms crossed or who just doesn't give a shit about what you're doing out there.
Yeah.
If the place is full and if at least 20 are into you, it looks like it's an amazing show.
And this is just me here. That's why I like playing stupidly small places.
Yes.
Because when 20 people show up, it is fucking packed.
Right.
Yeah, it might cap your door at fucking $100, but fuck.
Yes.
Those
absolutely.
fucking 20 people are there for you at that point.
Yeah. I always like the smaller stage for that reason.
And I mean, that's the cool thing that is out with like technology and shit today, is like being able to concise your fucking stage show to like a Kemper and a Sansamp.
Yeah, exactly.
and a drum set, and that's it. You could do your fucking, go through your fucking PA and shit. It's totally fucking rad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, anybody out there to do it, who wants to carry a fucking JCM 800 and a fucking 1960 A cab? Who wants to carry the fucking Ampeg refrigerator and a fucking SVT? Fuck, man. I'm old and fat now. I've always been fat, just now I'm old.
Yeah.
But
the
seriously,
bones and joints don't like to do the haul out, that's for sure.
Oh, hell no. Especially if you play a fucking show and I think we've all played those shows where it just went so fucking into the fucking paint that like you feel dead afterwards. And you're just like, shit, man. Whoa. Yeah. I mean, I personally strive for that every time. It's like a fucking, it's a deal, But fuck yeah, hopefully before, next November or two Novembers from now, that we'll get another either release or album, because I'm totally digging the fucking, decomposing spells. It's fucking, dude, I love it.
Sweet, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I've been really happy with the way this turned out. And I mean, the thing too about it is, whenever it is so long in between releases, like I can hear the progression in what I'm able to do, especially now playing live drums. Like, I'm happy with decomposing spells, but I feel like what's around the corner is even going to be, cooler But I mean, who knows? It's as soon as it's out of your hands, it's open to interpretation for everybody else. That being said, I'm very happy with the way decomposing spells came out.
Fuck yeah. And the progression, I'm kind of torn on that as well, because for my, in my personal growth as a musician, the first real like CD, that we had pressed and shit, we done in 2004. We went through like disc makers and did the fucking thing, got, mixed and mastered, fucking state of the art at the time type shit. Yeah. And that band fizzled out. And then I didn't put anything out until like 2009.
Yeah.
And it was just like a really short run fucking demo CD. It had like 3 songs on it. I actually screen printed the disc myself.
All right.
I bought like a fucking screen print from fucking Hobby Lobby, and it was just like, and actually printed the disc myself. Bought the silver face copies, and fucking, cool. And it was just in a folded up paper sleeve with that was photocopied, and the covers were colored in marker.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, and so each one was done by different people, so they were all different. So there's but anyway, fucking just like the releases, man. Like I could tell with the progression from the stuff that I have done. Like when I was doing an album a year for like 5 years in a row. I could see the progression from year to year, and how the band has changed there and there, because we change guitar players like once a year. People have burnout, playing a lot of shows and shit, and and as I've gotten older, we've went, like I said, how earlier it was like, well, then it became August, and then with the release schedule is it became once a year, then it was like a 2-year wait, and now it's been a 3-year wait, and now it's a 4-year wait, and because the last thing we put out was in 2019.
Wow. So. Yeah. Well, and the thing you run into also, it's, like I said, it's just me and Billy now, and we started out as a 3-piece, and even then, it's like, the more people you have attached to a project, and it's, I don't know, like, I never felt right keeping a band name if, as certain people drop off or whatever. With Vaultwraith, because I do all the music, I was okay with us, continuing on after our other singer, lyric writer, had quit the band and everything. But it's that's the big thing. It's like most bands, they only get to put out maybe 1 or 2 albums because of reasons like that. There's too many people involved who have like equal parts in the band, and so therefore, unless there's like one dick who's like willing to keep the name for themselves, that band ceases to exist after that initial lineup falls apart.
I am that dick.
Yes, exactly. Someone has to be that dick.
I am that dick. And honestly, here's the reasoning why. This is interesting. This has been like a really introspective episode for me too. The reason why I kept the name Overload, and it's been 16 years at this point, and it was the deal where I was 28 years old, and I read the reissue liner notes for Another Perfect Day from Motorhead. And Lemmy talks about Fast Eddie Clarke leaving the band after, 6 years in the band. Yeah. And Lemmy was 38 when Fast Eddie left. And he thought to himself that he was too old to start over. So he had thought, he's like, well, I'm going to replace him. I have to, because, we've got 7 albums worth of music, right, that people are into, that people actually come out to see and they dig. So he replaced him with, fucking Brian Robertson from Thin Lizzy. Yeah. And that's exactly what they did with him. They replaced him when he left, and so on and so forth. So that's the thing with me, for example, is, I was 28 when I read that, and it kind of like told me, it's like, you know what? I'm too old to fucking start over again. I'm going to dedicate my time and to this, because this will be my legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's just kind of what it is. It's, I think, it's a lot of it, people is like, oh, why isn't anything happening? It's like, well, it's because you put out like one album, man. It's like, it used to be that people, took 3 or 4 albums before they really got any kind of traction.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not touring or anything like that. I mean, it's like, you got to have something out there for people to even know you exist.
Well, yeah.
So, I think being prolific and consistent helps.
Oh, for sure it does. That's like, and I know they're not metal, but I dig all kinds of shit. Blues Traveler, the album that they cracked big on was 4, and it was their 4th album.
Right.
So, like, yeah, I totally get that. And yeah, there are bands out there that, none of us ever hear of until all of a sudden. Like, that's one of the things I love about the music scene now, is there are bands that are playing again that were that hadn't really done anything since the mid 80s or the early 90s, because they broke up and either went and did other small time gigs or got day jobs.
Yeah. Have you seen that Siren documentary that just came out?
No, I haven't.
No, it's pretty cool. They were this band from Florida, like around the Tampa area. They kind of came up with Nasty Savage and other bands at the time. But yeah, they kind of broke up in the 80s, and people started sharing their demos around on YouTube and stuff like that. And they actually got back together and did a small show out in Europe and everything. And
holy shit.
So it's pretty, yeah. And they're actually working on a new album, but that's just the thing, it was 80s kind of came, went, nothing happened with them. They all went their separate ways, got day jobs and everything else, and then all of a sudden there's this, interest in them, and comes back around for them.
For sure, yeah. And I think that's an interesting thing too, because Forbidden just announced that they were getting back together.
Oh wow!
For one show only, and it's like one of the Bay Area shows. So. But the thing about this is like, I think you can thank Anvil for that like momentum push to rediscover these bands that nobody's really, it's not that they even ever quit. Like Raven, for example, they've been consistent since 1974. Yeah. And it's just like, but you get to rediscover them now and find out, holy fuck, they're still playing. I'm gonna go see them, and it's probably it's a show that's going to rival the bands that like Maiden and fucking Priest and Metallica and shit, because it means more. It's more intimate.
Yeah, I mean, there's a comedian, Jonah Ray, made a comment one time. It's like when people say, oh, they're still doing stuff, it's like, yeah, they didn't stop, making records because you stopped listening to them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. And, a shout out to Randy Newman, by the way. And everybody, for what Randy Newman is, like with all the fucking Pixar songs and fucking songs and movies that he's done, he actually wrote a song that is perfect for this. It's a song called "I'm Dead But I Don't Know It," and it's about being a musician who retires who announces their retirement in like 1984 and never fucking retires.
Right.
They just keep playing and playing and playing, like the Eagles did, or Kiss did, or whatever, And go ahead.
Well, that's just it too. It's like, I understand the whole, like, when a musician says, oh, I'm going to retire, I have no doubt that, like, yeah, they'd like to get off the road and stuff like that. But I mean, that compulsion to write and record and, make music, I don't think that goes away. And so, yeah, even though they might not be doing it professionally, I doubt they're done by any means.
It went away for me for about 9 months. is the longest time I've ever not been playing in anything. And I about went fucking insane.
Right, exactly.
It's like you're sitting there, you're just like, you're tapping your fingers and you're, it's like you got the fucking the caffeine jitters, you know?
Yeah, I'm a very fidgety person. It's hard for me to hold still whenever I'm not at work or something. So,
you're
having a guitar in my hand is just,
aren't you?
Huh?
You're probably shaking right now, aren't you? You're like shaking
my
your
foot
leg
twitches.
or your hand. Yeah, I get it. I'm there too. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over. This has been an awesome interview so far. So this is the new segment called Derailed here on the Metal Forge. 5 questions, no holds barred. What happens when the train goes off the tracks, man?
Okay.
If you could eliminate one disease forever from the planet, what would it be?
Cancer.
Boom. Yes, because it's fucking terrible.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's so many different forms of it, and there's not a single person on the planet that hasn't been touched by it in some way or another.
Yeah. Even personal scares.
Yep.
Because we're just,
absolutely.
we're all just fucking people, man. Like, I've had that personal scare twice in my life, and it's fucked up.
Yeah. But I mean, then again, too, if this is morbid, but if we didn't have anything like it too, I'm sure the population would explode.
Well, I mean, it kind of has in the last fucking 100 years.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, it's just awful, and I mean, it's I don't know. Yeah.
Hell yeah. What is the biggest lie you once believed to be true, excluding Santa Claus?
Yeah, hell, I don't know. That's a tough one. The biggest lie I thought wants to be true. Damn, dude, that's harsh. I don't know. I don't know. I would like to say the belief in an omnipresent, God or whatever, but not trying to get too philosophical. I can't exactly disprove it.
You want to know the biggest lie that I ever perceived to be true?
Yeah.
I'm going to be a rock star.
There's that one, yeah.
No, I'm totally being a facetious dick there, but like, I mean, yeah, we all have delusions of grandeur at that, but like, yeah, I mean, other than Santa Claus or like if you believe in a deity or not, I mean, that's pretty, I mean, I don't know, maybe the Tooth Fairy or something. Did you always know that your parents left the 50 cents or whatever it was under the pillow?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I was pretty young when I found out about Santa Claus, and I've been pretty jaded ever since.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
No, it's all good. But yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm pretty well grounded as far as being able to kind of detect bullshit.
Well, that's awesome, though. I mean, hey. That's a great quality to have. I mean, it's great, especially if you're in the music scene.
Now that I think about it.
What's that?
I said, I don't know. It sounds kind of egotistical as fuck now that I think about it. But I don't know. I think I used to really buy into ghost stories a lot more, whenever I was younger. But again, I can't exactly disprove it. It's just I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's bullshit, but it sucks too, because especially if you're into horror and metal and stuff like that, having that belief in ghosts and stuff like that, man, that totally enhances it.
Yeah, it totally does.
Yeah. I mean, so it kind of sucks. What am I supposed to do? Just listen to tech metal now?
No, not tech. If you real shout out here really fast. If you are in a tech band, tech death or anything like that, hit me up. I have never had a tech death band on the show. I want to. This is the fucking Metal Forge. It's about all fucking metal, not just fucking whatever metal. It's every fucking thing.
And hats off to those bands too. That shit's difficult to play.
Well, yeah. I mean, because it just the sheer requirement of it, especially if it's also riff oriented and not just one stagnant note.
Right.
Yeah, fuck yeah, I agree with you. Hats off, because I don't think I could do it.
Yeah,
I'm too sloppy.
There's some people that like really tend to be able to blend the tech elements and still make it atmospheric and interesting too, you know? So that's always cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. What kind of driver are you?
I'm a pretty boring driver. I get a lot of people tailgate me and stuff because, you know, I go the speed limit, do all that and everything. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I don't need to get anywhere too quickly because, you know, I like living.
Yeah, I mean, you sound pretty laid back on the call here, man.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I'm a pretty easygoing driver. I mean, I listen to loud music and all that, but yeah, no, I'm a pretty boring driver. I didn't even get my license until I turned 18, and that's because my mom pretty much forced me because she got tired of dragging me around.
Right. Now, so when you're driving, are you listening to, you know, does the music you listen to affect your driving, though? Is what I guess what I'm asking with that.
Yeah, not really. I mean, obviously, if I'm in a good mood, you know, I mean, it's cool to have the windows down, listen to some cool music, stuff like that. There's definitely, like, music I go to for road trips. Black Sabbath's first album is, like, one of my ultimate road trip albums. Start to back, listen to that entire thing. But, no, I still pretty much drive the same regardless of what I'm listening to.
Right on. Because, you know, sometimes when you've got fucking... You know, you're playing like Ride the Lightning or something, and you just get that fucking feeling in when Ride comes on after Fight Fire with Fire, and you just fucking punch the gas pedal just a little bit more, man. Like, because you got to keep up with the fucking tempo, right?
Yeah, well, that's just the thing too. You know, Ride the Lightning. I mean, good God, that intro going into Fire with Fire. I mean, that was just magical. I bought that album. That was probably the first Metallica album I bought, not because I was of age to know anything about Metallica when it came out, but my stepsister let me listen to Injustice for All, and that was the first time I'd ever heard them. So I wanted to save up my money and get a Metallica album. The only one they had at the local Kmart was Ride the Lightning. Jeez. So I got that, and that first time I heard Fire, I mean, that acoustic intro, which is also genius, going into that just freaking devastating riff. It's just, get goosebumps thinking about it now. Yeah.
And honestly, that intro, like with the guitaring on the heavy part, to me, it kind of rivals death metal.
Yeah.
As opposed to thrash. I mean, and it turns thrash quick, but that first, you know, that fucking like chug. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
that's the thing too. It's, you know, I mean, I'm going to show my age here, but a lot of people don't give Metallica their dues because people like to shit on. The biggest one I see right now is people shitting on Lars's drumming, which annoys the shit out of me because that's like going back and shitting on Chuck Berry for not sounding like Jimi Hendrix. You know, it's like, this didn't exist before this band, you know?
Right.
So it's like, this lays down the groundwork. People took it. They ran with it. They took what they did and expanded on it. That's the natural progression of anything. And it's not to say that if it wasn't them, it would have been somebody else, but it was them. So, you know.
Right, yeah. And that's one of the things what we were talking about earlier when I say bands get an unjust amount of flack. I think it's trendy to hate on Metallica.
Yeah, well, and that's just it too. I mean, it's like, you know, any band I feel like has about 4 or 5 albums that their fans really latch on to. And Metallica, I mean, they had a run, okay? So like Kill 'Em All through Injustice for All, I think, are widely considered the ones, right? How the hell do you top that? If I wrote Master of Puppets, I think the only thing I could do is probably like step out in front of a train after that, because there's no topping that. I mean, it's like, okay, that's it, we're done. Now, you know, so I mean, the fact that they're still making anything, and it's just like you said, you can't please everybody, and it's like, you know, yes, if they crank out the same thing, well, people say, oh, they're AC/DC, they're just doing the same album over and over again. Right. Okay, right. But if they try to like do anything too experimental, you'll shit on them for either like, I don't know, trend hopping or doing something really weird or whatever. So it's no-win situation there. Just, keep making albums and keep making money till you're dead.
Yeah, right. So. The fucked up thing about that is I was just talking about this with Jason Gardner from the Heavy Metal Wasteland on his segment of it. We were just bullshitting on the phone one night on Zoom, and that was one of the things that I had said. It's like, Metallica, when you look at their career, and I know it's not directly tied to the bass player, but if you look at their career, at every bass player in Junction in the band, which there's been 4 of them, they have all drastically been different.
Right.
When you get the Cliff albums, and then you got the Jason albums, and then you've got the one Bob Rock album, and then you've got the Rob Trujillo stuff. They're all drastically different eras for that band.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're talking Kill, Ride, and Master, then Justice, Black, Load, Reload, and then you've got Saint Anger, and then Death Magnetic, Hardwired, and 72 Seasons.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck. It's interesting because, Jason has the most.
Yeah.
Which is arguably the first time people really chastised them with Black, Load, and Reload.
Yeah, and that's also, the backlash with, the Black Album on, because, I got into Metallica right about the time the Black Album was getting ready to come out. They were in the process of recording it, but hadn't quite been released whenever I found out about them.
Right.
But you instantly know it. The big one I can come back to is whenever the Misfits reunited in '95, right? So I'd been listening to the Misfits and I was wearing their T-shirts. And then when they put out this album with Michael Graves, well, then all these other kids got into it. And I remember this kid coming up to me in the hallway and say, "Hey, I heard the Misfits." I'm like, "No, you didn't."
Right.
It's that is not the Misfits. And so whatever, I'm sure for a lot of Metallica fans who've been into them from the get-go, whenever the Black Album came out, when people go, "Hey, I heard Metallica," I'm sure it was similar. No, you didn't.
And that's so funny because the only instance I can because I'm a huge Motorhead fan. Yeah. The only instance that I can completely be that's not Motorhead, is Another Perfect Day. But even still it is. But but everything else, whether it's fucking the first album or all the way to Bad Magic, it's all fucking Motorhead.
Yeah.
And, that's interesting that, the whole Michael Graves Misfits thing is no, it's not the Misfits. It's different. Because, yeah, totally.
Right. Yeah. And it was just, so, I think, but I don't know. I'm not quite as precious about stuff like that nowadays. It's a little more acute whenever you're 15 and trying to identify with something and people you don't start latching onto
right.
it. Yeah,
just
which is more of a thing
just like the Kardashians
15.
wearing the Metallica shirts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny. If I go through my drawer now, I got these old beat up tour T-shirts that I could sell for more than triple what I paid for them back in the day because they're worn.
Because they're a worn shirt and they're trendy to have now.
Yeah.
Among everybody, which is, I always thought about taking my old tour shirts, the ones that don't fit anymore and shit, and doing the quilt thing with it, but just never have. If you could be reincarnated as an animal, what animal would you choose?
Probably a snapping turtle. I think they're really cool. They live a long time and they kind of kick it around the area where I like to in the Midwest. So yeah, snapping turtle.
Fuck yeah. And dude, where I live about 40 minutes west of here, there is a rumor of a turtle out in one of the lakes that is a prehistoric.
Wow.
The snapping turtle is that big that nobody's seen it, but they've always seen the shadow of it.
Yeah.
And he's supposedly They think that he's around like 8 or 9 feet around, like across his shell.
Well, obviously a director needs to get a hold of that story and make it into a full-length feature.
No shit. Snapper from hell. I don't know.
Just go snap.
Oh, dude, see, now somebody's gonna fucking trade. You wait, and in fucking like a year, that's gonna be a fucking movie. It's gonna be like the next Sharknado, Snap 2.
And full blessing from me. Just hit me up to do the soundtrack.
Fuck yes, and give a special fucking thanks.
Yes, absolutely.
Fuck yeah, we'll become consultants. This is
there we are.
The Warlock and the Metal Forge present Snap.
Exactly. You'll have to be there to give them artistic direction, how to lay out the lake and everything else.
And I just thought of the third sequel to Snap is where the turtle gets out and attacks a fucking prep school, and it's Snap. Snap 3.
Snap. Yeah, absolutely. Gets in the like decorative pond in front of the university.
Yes. Yes, dude. Fucking absolutely. I have one more question out of the derailed segment here, and this will be our last question of the day.
Okay.
What is something people should know about you?
Geez, I don't know, man. I mean, aside from Vaultwraith, I still do a lot of music on my own too. If you ever want to check it out, my name is Willie Wardlaw, and I use that name to record by, which isn't very sexy. But I've got a solo album on Spotify, but it's quite a bit different. It's all ambient music, so something I guess people should know about me.
Fuck yeah, man. Dude, that's awesome. I mean, that you can go out and do other things. It doesn't have to be all heavy all the time. I mean, metal every day, yes. That's the new hashtag. Hashtag metal every day. But it doesn't always have to be all heavy all the time. Dude, fucking Hank Williams is fucking heavy.
Yeah, I mean, heaviness, it definitely comes in different vibes. For me, like, I described it to another person one time. What I like is just music that sounds good when the lights are out. So that could be ambient. That could be just about anything, a lot of classical music or anything. I'm attracted to, like, sad and dark music.
It's kind of like a Mozart piece and a Bach piece. It's a mock piece. No, you're absolutely right. That's one of my favorite things to do, especially in the winter months, is I like to come home and I set the smart bulb to like a red, but like at 40%, where it's just like a dim room. It looks like a dark room almost. And fucking just put something on, or just throw on a candle or something and throw on like Aqualung and just fucking jam the fuck out to it, and not even inebriated, just taking in the listen of, especially on like old albums on vinyl. Not the resurgence, like the 180 gram stuff, but even still, the field is there, but the original hisses and shit is where I'm at. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, just like you said, though, Hank's heavy. I mean, there's a lot of heaviness out there, and that's the other thing too. It's being in our 40s. I've been listening to heavy metal for a really long time, and so you start to crave other things to listen to, and so I mean, it's even though metal is obviously my go-to music when I'm recording, a lot of times I'm just listening to music at home. I'll go days where I'm not listening to anything that would be considered necessarily heavy metal. I mean, I'll still come back to all my favorite albums. That influence doesn't go away. Once it's in you, it's in you. But, and the other thing too is whenever you get past a certain age where you're trying to like identify yourself with any one particular thing, where basically what you listen to doesn't carve out who you are, and then you do open yourself up to a lot of stuff that you might have shut yourself off to beforehand. I went back and listened to a lot of stuff I used to just kind of turn my nose up at when I was younger, and really enjoy it now.
For sure. And, I've always been the guy to sit there and to think that certain things don't make sense to you until a certain time in your life.
Yeah, that's I know whenever I was getting into some metal bands here in town in the early 2000s, the guys I was playing with, they were all like about 10, 12 years older than me, and a lot of them were really into Candlemass, and I didn't get it at the time, wasn't really into it. Christ, man, I love Candlemass.
Oh, yeah. Dumicus Epicus Metallis, oh my fucking God, it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, and that, basically that classic run of albums for me, and the newer stuff is cool too, but yeah, I can listen to Nightfall and Tales of Creation, man, that stuff always, it gets me right every time.
Yeah,
but I wasn't, that was a slow one for me to get into in my early 20s. I just wasn't the person who could listen to it then.
And for me, it was about 35. When I used to hate Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
And I turned 24, and then all of a sudden something was in me was just something flipped, and I was just like, wow, I totally get what he's saying now. And I totally get it, and I understand, and then that's the same thing, with Candlemass and fucking Coroner and those bands and stuff, when you just really take a deep dive into it, and, you find that one thing, and it's yeah, I really wasn't a big fan of this, but now you're just fanatical about it. Maiden was that way for me.
Yeah.
Because I used to not dig, I was an Aussie guy, okay? I was an Aussie guy, so Dio Sabbath to me was just and I didn't care for the fucking the high pitched scream, yelling, or you know what I'm saying, the high pitched voice vocals, the falsetto.
Yeah, that trained vocal, whereas Ozzy was a little more just kind of doing his own thing.
Yeah, for sure. And so it took me going to see Maiden live, honestly, and I went by myself in the middle of fucking June one year, and was just and they had Megadeth open for them. And
that's a cool show.
Yeah. And so I had to do it. I had to go see them. And after I saw them, I was just like, holy fuck. This band is fucking awesome. And now I've seen them 5 or 6 times. So I've actually seen them more than my favorite bands.
Yeah. I've only got to see Maiden once, but it was a cool show.
The first one I saw them on was in 2014, and it was Maiden England.
Oh, that's really cool. Oh, that's right. They were just was that, I guess, the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son album, I guess, at that time?
Yeah, they started with fucking Moonchild and fucking, oh my gosh. When it gets into the and it's just holy shit, this is so fucking cool. And it's the fucking crowd chants on the
It was, I know, for me, I got to see him in 2000 whenever they were actually touring with Brave New World. And at the time, I got into Maiden pretty hard whenever I was about 12 or 13. And the only albums I owned back then, I had Killers and I had Somewhere in Time. And those are probably still my favorite albums of theirs. But, I went for years where I really didn't expand on it. I think I got a couple albums here and there. I had No Prayer for the Dying and stuff. And I turned about 18 or so and got my first actual job and had regular income coming in. I was buying ass loads of albums. So I got all the classic Maiden albums.
Oh, yeah.
And so then around the time I turned 20, that's when I hear Bruce has come back to Iron Maiden, and they're putting out new albums. So I ran out and bought Brave New World when it came out, and then some friends of mine, we're going to see Iron Maiden in St. Louis. I'm like, are there still tickets available? And they're like, yeah. And so me and a friend of mine, we got lawn seats out at Riverport Amphitheater up here in St. Louis, and
dude,
went out to
that's
go
where
see
I
him.
saw them at.
What was that?
I've seen them there.
You did? Very cool. Yeah.
I've seen them there twice, actually, on the Maiden England tour and the Book of Souls.
Nice. Oh yeah, very cool.
Yeah, you're talking about where the casino is, right?
Yeah, right out there by the casino.
Yeah,
I think they're actually doing shows there.
I've seen them there twice too. That's cool.
Yeah, no, it's a cool place. I've seen a couple of shows there. I saw that last Slayer tour up there too.
Nice. Yeah,
But,
the first one, of course, was Maiden and Megadeth, and then I saw Maiden and Ghost on the Book of Souls.
Oh, that's really cool.
That was a good show.
Yeah, I've seen Ghost twice actually. Back when they were still like playing at the pageant,
Yes.
I saw them when they were touring with that first covers EP, and it was so screwed up because like I was really into Ghost and everything, but like got up there and like I don't think people knew what to do with that band at the time. And I kid you not, they didn't pull up the chairs. There was like tables and chairs out for this metal show, and it's just like, what the hell, man? Where are people supposed to stand and get into this? But the second time I saw them was when they were touring with Meliora, and they got it at that point. They pulled up the tables and let them actually have a floor.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting thing with the way venues are with that stuff. Sometimes I just don't get it. But dude, Willie, thank you so fucking much. The Warlock from Vaultwraith, dude. Thank you so fucking much, dude, for coming into the Metal Forge this week. This has been such a fucking awesome interview this week. I've had such a good time, dude.
Me too, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hell yeah. So, as I got to say this on every episode, as always, links are listed below, so please give a like, a share, and a follow. Go rate and review the Metal Forge. Go purchase merch from Vaultwraith. Do the thing, if they ever decide to do shows, I'm sure fucking you all would be perfect for something like a Hell's Heroes or some shit like that too, those big festival single show appearances. For the listeners out there that do that stuff, hit him up. Seriously, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, everybody, go do the things. Buy the gear, do the stuff. Do you have any shout outs you want to give to anybody today?
No, man. I mean, obviously, want to shout out to Hell's Headbangers, Vicious Witch, and Adirondack Black Mass for getting this album out on the various formats and getting it into people's ears and on their hands. So, and then just obviously anybody who's been listening to us from the get-go or just picked it up now, man, thanks for everything. And thank you for having me on here and giving me a chance to promote all my stuff.
Fuck yeah, man. That's what it's all about. This show, and as I've tried to say this to everybody, it's not just about metal music. It's metal culture. It's life. It's everything. And then, like I said, it's conversation-based interview podcast. And dude, fucking yeah, man, I'm just here to promote you guys, myself, everybody. That's why, I keep doing it 220 plus episodes in, man.
Hell yeah. Well, and that's just it, dude. I'm staying consistent. It's you might pick up people and might have a few drop off. As long as you're still doing it, somebody will listen.
Right. Absolutely, dude. Dude, Willie, thank you so fucking much. This has been super fucking rad. Metal every day, everybody. On our way out from Decomposing Spells, what do you want to play?
Let's say a Devil's Dish Served Cold.
Yeah, you hear him. This is the Devil's Dish Served Cold.
From Hades she was cast with a slip to her pride.
Since 2013, there has been a calling from the underground, from the graves of all those unholy, and they decided to make a zine to talk about all of this. Soul Grinder Zine, an independent metal zine to keep you informed on all things metal and horror from the underground. Available in both print and digital formats, they're bringing you the best interviews and reviews out there today. Not only do they do the zine, but they also do compilation CDs. Check them out at facebook.com/soulgrinder.zine and start your subscription now.
Hey everybody, let me tell you about the new sponsor to the Metal Forge, Unchained Tapes. They're an independent Pennsylvania tape label. They focus on extreme metal and punk with a killer approach to the tape scene. Visit their web store at unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com now to get your fill of tapes. And for being a Metal Forge listener, enter the code METALFORGE10 at checkout to get a 10% discount on your total purchase. That's unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com.
What's up, Metal Forge fans? This is Alan Bishop, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest and head distiller at Spirits of French Lick. Do you find yourself drawn to the unexplained, fascinated by the Fortean, or enchanted by the paranormal? If the things that go bump in the night resonate in your mind, then tune into my brand new podcast, If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything. Featuring first-hand accounts, collected stories, interviews, history, and speculation related to all things not of this world. Available now on Anchor, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and more. Sit back, relax, and remember, if you have ghosts, you have everything.
Hey, let me tell you guys about Mercenary Press. They're an independent London label and distributor of all things metal. Mercenary Press delivers the goods from their own independent zine. Trust me, you're going to want to get in on that. To distributing various bands from all over the world, including Cramp from Spain and Sadistic Force from Texas. Visit mercenarypress.bigcartel.com to find out what all they have in stock and what you can order. And for Metal Forge listeners, enter code METALFORGE10 to receive a discount on your total purchase at mercenarypress.bigcartel.com. Check it out now.
Hey Metalheads, it's with great pleasure I get to tell you guys about a new sponsor to the Metal Forge, Ageless Art, New Albany. After 20 years of owning and operating Ageless Art in Clarksville, Indiana, Phil Garrett had a vision for a new type of tattoo studio. Something that is clean and modern, sleek, refined, inviting. And he's done just that with Ageless Art in New Albany. You can find it at 2736 Charlestown Road, New Albany, Indiana, 47150. Business hours are Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sundays are 12 to 6. All sessions are appointment only, so give them a call and go get you some new ink. Or if it's your first time, go get your first one, baby.